just says Q1.
I think it should be read out loud based on how BT phrased it.
Okay. Is there?
So I think I can do it. I saw the message.
Yeah, if you saw it.
Yeah, 1 second. Went a bit high. What happens if the nuclear waters goes in the drinking water?
Oh well,
Basically,
okay.
is the
Well,
question.
that's the question. Okay,
Yeah.
let me just read this because I just looked it up. So, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, and regional monitoring stations, there has been no detectable increase in radiation levels in the drinking water or the Persian Gulf, while nuclear facilities like Bushehr and Natanz have been targeted by strikes during this conflict. I don't think Bushehr has been attacked. What are you talking about? Maybe the Islamic Republic has targeted Bushehr themselves to cause a scare. Have been targeted by strikes during this conflict. Most recently in April, no radiological contaminant has been breached as of today. While it isn't nuclear, the water supply is facing severe conventional contamination crisis. So we have other problems. Okay, let me see. I don't. There. What would happen if the nuclear material gets to the water?
I think so. Let me find the message again.
To the drinking water. So I think the results would be an immediate
But yeah, what
humanitarian and
happens?
yeah. So I saw some countries, some Arab countries around the Persian Gulf saying that this is a huge threat to them. They were showing concerns, especially with the Bushehr nuclear facility. Because, guys, the places like Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo, the nuclear material from the places where they enrich uranium, the attacks on them is less likely to get the radioactive material spread around, right? They're so deep underground. It's not going to be good, obviously, but it's not going to have a major environmental impact compared to if you have an attack on the Bushehr nuclear facility, for example, because those are not deep underground. They're right on surface. And also, those are the places where you actually use the enriched uranium to create an energy. That is what you need to be afraid of. So, the enriched uranium that is deep underground, any bombardment of that, the radiation spreading is going to be very limited. But any attacks on a nuclear facility like Bushehr, that is what people panic about and lose sleep over. Right? So if that happens, what happens is that we're going to have a total shutdown of the water supply. So because the Persian Gulf is the source of 40% of the world's desalinated water. So this is a nightmare situation for the Arab countries around the Persian Gulf. If anything happens on the Bushehr nuclear facility and that stuff gets into the Persian Gulf, this will destroy their economy. I don't even know if we can talk about economies anymore, because people can't even live there anymore. There's not enough drinking water there left in this country. You're going to see a massive migration out of these places. That is something that actually we should be talking about more, because you, the Islamic Republic might want to use that if it gets close to regime collapse. The Islamic Republic might want to use that as a way to hold the whole world hostage by showing that I am actually going to put radioactive material into the Persian Gulf and basically make Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait unlivable places with no water. So most Persian Gulf nations like UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain have zero natural groundwater. Zero natural groundwater. So it's kind of unnatural that people live there in that high of a number. The fact that they're getting this much water from the Persian Gulf means that these places naturally would not be able to sustain even remotely close to the population that they have. So desalination plants like the reverse it's reverse osmosis. Yeah, so they use reverse osmosis to make salt water into drinking water, are not designed to filter out radioactive isotopes. So the radioactive isotopes that will be in the water, none of these desalination facilities will be able to get that out. The result would be that the plants would be forced to shut down immediately to prevent piping radioactive water into homes. This would leave millions of people with only 3 to 7 days of stored fresh water before a total shortage occurs. Guys, this is actually a nightmare scenario. We're talking about running out of oil for the economy. Running out of water is would be way more devastating, way more devastating. And then we're going to also have a severe health crisis if the water is contaminated, and it was if it was any of it was ingested before a shutdown, and or any other person was using it. Think about all the fish and all the other marine life in the Persian Gulf. Okay, so short term we will have radioactive material in the thyroid gland, drastically increasing the risk of thyroid cancer, especially in children. And then long term, we have these other isotopes that acts like potassium in the body, spreading to soft tissues, muscles, leading to various forms of cancer and organ damage over years. And then we will have environmental dead zones. Radioactive isotopes don't just disappear. So we will basically completely damage the food chain. Fish and marine life would absorb the radiation. Since the Persian Gulf is a relatively closed sea with slow water turnover, the contamination would linger for decades. Decades. Agriculture will be damaged. If contaminated water is used for irrigation, the soil becomes toxic, ruining food security for generations. And then we also will have mass migration because humans can't survive more than a few days without water, obviously. A nuclear water event would trigger a mass exodus. Millions of people from coastal cities, including Dubai, Doha, and Abu Dhabi, would be forced to evacuate inland or leave the region entirely, creating an unprecedented global refugee crisis. And you guys, you get all of this with the cheap price of one explosion in the Bushehr nuclear facility, which the Islamic Republic could easily do and blame it on United States and Israel. So yeah, don't panic. I don't know. Or do panic, because I'm panicking just reading this. Does anybody have any opinions on this? Okay, yeah, I see some twos in the chat. All right.
So before we get to the twos, we do have 4 more people on the list, and we have about 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, and by the way, guys, after this, I'm gonna have a live stream with Ali. And by the way, Jeffrey, Guy, Richard, if you guys want to join us sometimes, it would be fun to have you guys as well. And what was I gonna say? And also, Ali has his own segment coming up in how many hours, Ali?
In 4.
In 4 hours. So we have, this is my segment, but Ali has its own segment, which is open to all, coming in 4 hours. So here it's a little bit busy. We have 50 people, and many people can't get their ideas out or their questions out because it's very busy here. But Ali's segment, which starts in 4 hours, they're usually between 15 people, 17 people there. So if you wanted to be able to speak more, just go, and that's a free open to all segment as well. So if you wanted to talk more, just join that segment, which starts in 4 hours, and you could talk to Ali and all the people who joined there as well. All right, so who's next?
All right, so the first to respond is Danish.
Oh, Danish is here. Fantastic.
Hello, good to see you, Arminjon. I just wanted to say that I had a couple of courses on nuclear power and nuclear waste management and those type of stuff. I had a bit of research on it back in the university days, and I have some good news. I don't think we need to panic. That's at least my understanding. Well, the good news is that A, we have a lot of water, and B, we have done that already, putting nuclear materials in the water. And it happened back in the day when there was a arms race between Russia and US to get to nuclear power. and it was like a lot of waste that actually being released to open waters and in just their shores. And we do see the effects of that even right now. For example, it's known in medical community that if someone has a lot of flies quite frequently, it is more likely for them to be exposed to radiation because they go over oceans quite frequently. And it's sad, and it already happened. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't think that Iran can change that situation dramatically. And also, I just wanted to mention that in terms of bombs on the facilities that hold nuclear materials, as a matter of fact, nuclear power generates waste. And then the question is that how to deal with that waste. And the most proper way of dealing with that waste is exactly doing that, putting it deep into the ground and then just covering it, which with bombs, it happens
So,
naturally. So I just wanted to mention that it's
so
actually
Danish, I think I don't know if you noticed what I said. When it comes to the places where you enrich uranium, that's the one that you don't need to worry about because they're already deep underground. And when you bomb them, they get deep, very deep underground, and that doesn't spread. I understand that part. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about places like Bushehr, okay? Not the places where they enrich uranium, the places where they use the enriched uranium to make electricity. Those are not deep underground, okay? And I've heard if you bomb them, then you have a concern, especially for the Arab countries who don't have their own natural water, for example, like Iran does, right?
yeah,
So,
you're 100% right about that, Armin. Just wanted to say that for the ones that are deep in the ground, that's our best way of actually getting rid of those materials.
yeah.
Just wanted to do that comparison. But for the ones like Bushehr, what I'm trying to say is that we actually did that experiment, putting in nuclear material in the water when the war arms race was happening. And basically, it was even worse in a way that it was mainly in liquid form because basically how they started creating nuclear bombs was mainly focusing on liquid form. And we have already released that, and it didn't make a catastrophe. What I'm trying to say is that the good news is that we have a lot of water, and it doesn't seem like
Who has a lot of water?
on earth we have a lot of water on earth. And basically what I'm trying to say is that back in the day we released a lot of nuclear material in the water, and it still didn't catastrophically changed the environment at that point. So you
So
can
why
search
do I
about the
So why am I getting all of this scary information from World Nuclear Association and UNNCEAR and international and the IAEA regarding how scary all of this is? Are they
good
telling you
question.
that?
There might be a difference that I'm not aware of, but that's my
No.
understanding. You can search about the arms race and how it got developed and the amount of the nuclear material that has been dumped into the oceans by both US and the USSR. So that's something that I'm pretty sure happened. But it might be different in a way that I'm not aware of. That
Okay.
might be the case at Armijan. But I know that actually happened, and I know that the amount of the materials that has been released into the oceans it's not negligible. It's much more than the amount that Iran is capable to release into water. Because it was just mainly about like getting to nuclear weapon as fast as possible, and the failed experiments got dumped into the water, basically. Yeah, just as
Okay.
added information.
No, thank you for adding that. I'm gonna look into it. And I like it
All
when
right.
you say I like it when somebody says I don't know, maybe that's correct. The level when you show skepticism, it shows that that's really good. We should encourage that. So thank you for that, Danish. All right.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Next is Adelaide.
Hey, yeah, interesting point on the desalination. This is something I learned about when I was living in Jordan. And a huge portion of the population didn't want anything to do with Israel, hated them. But one of the main reasons that the government actually has to have decent ties with them is because Jordan's, I believe, the second poorest country in the world in terms of water, and Israel has all the best desalination technology. So to be able to use that technology and to work with them and keep their citizens alive, they actually have to play nice with Israel. So I don't know about the desalination technology of the Gulf, but I would suspect that it would be similar. And if there is a water crisis, ironically, it would probably push them to even stronger ties with Israel because they're the ones with the technology in that region. I don't know about like when it comes to taking out nuclear waste, but at least in terms of desalination, they have to go to Israel, which pretty nice.
You're not wrong because many Iranian people also, including Princess of Pahlavi, communicates how much they are eager to become allies with Israel once the Islamic Republic falls. Especially one of the reasons that they keep going back to is because of the desalination technology. And you're also right because of the UAE is now very eager to be a major ally of Israel because of security needs, military security needs. So it's imaginable that these countries will jump into the arm of Israel for water needs as well. So yeah. So we already seeing that this is the case, at least with security. So we can imagine that being true with water as well.
Okay, we have a lot of responses for this, so if you guys could keep it very short. Next is Sketch.
Yes, I'd like to give the Walmart American explanation. There's two types of uranium we're talking about. One is bomb uranium, weapon stuff, and the other one is energy uranium in the power plants. That's more exposed because of a bomb. The worry with water from power plants is that it could reach the water in the Gulf. Because the Gulf is rather closed, the water, I think it's a shallower Gulf, except like right there at the strait. So the water doesn't circulate as much and it contaminates there longer. It's different from the ocean water and its capacity to get rid of radiation water. So that's the worry in the Gulf. I believe that's why you're seeing that scary stuff there, Armin, because they're specifically talking about perhaps water in the Gulf. And when we're talking about water from the weapons grade, I believe, yes, putting that weapons grade material and even used contaminated materials from water power plants, what you would do is you put it deep underground. So it's not supposed to be near water tables, the weapons grade stuff. So I believe that's where we're getting a mix up in people. Why is it going into the water? It's different types of uranium in different places. I think more of the worry is about the energy uranium reaching the water than there is a worry about the weapons uranium reaching an underground water table.
So actually, to confirm that, let me just quickly read this. So we have waste versus weapon grade material. So deep sea dumping, that's what Danish was referring to, mostly involved in low level waste that like gloves, tools, or sealed old reactors at the bottom of the sea. But when it comes to the nuclear program in Iran, the concern isn't about disposal, but about nuclear proliferation, the creation of nuclear weapons with an active reactors. And an active reactor like Bushehr contains vastly more volatile radiation than a barrel of waste on the seafloor. And then we have meltdown risk versus dilution. So as of May 2026, Iran's facilities are in high tension conflict zone. A strike on an operational reactor could cause a meltdown like Chernobyl, releasing radiation into the air and the Persian Gulf. And water supply contamination in the Persian Gulf would immediately threaten the desalination plants that provide drinking water to millions in the UAE, Kuwait, and Qatar. So also we have recent updates actually from today. The IAEA reported as recently as yesterday, that strikes have occurred near the Bushehr plant, unlike historical dumping, which happened in remote deep sea trenches. These facilities are near major populations and vital resources. So, yeah, this is actually different from what happened historically. This is so, guys. Back to so basically back to panicking. So, yeah, but Danish, but that it was good that you brought it up so that we had the responses here. The Danish was giving us some hope not to panic, but everybody panic. Oh,
Next is Jonathan Hartman.
So the question about the nuclear material What you need to, I think, what you should probably understand, I think radioactive isotopes, depending on which kind you're talking about, may not be as damaging to the environment as you might think. Because usually the ones with the longer half-life usually have less radioactive, and the ones that have shorter half-lives have a lot more. And the other thing is when the question about having explosions or whatever near a nuclear power plant, the main worry there is that it could trigger a meltdown in the power plant. So then you have things like Chernobyl and that sort of thing, or Fukushima or whatever.
So you're saying the material that they have there is not as radioactive as people might think?
What I'm saying is that nuclear power in general is to some extent actually the most environmentally friendly, because you're not putting stuff into the air. It's mostly just steam. And then secondly, the radioactive,
You're
nuclear.
not putting the material into the air, and that's steam. But
No, I understand. I'm talking about
what?
that
I
it's
wasn't
more
finished.
radioactive. Okay.
I was saying that, but what if you blow it up? Then you are putting it into the air and into the water.
Okay. If you blow it, the risk there is that you could end up with a nuclear meltdown. So that is a risk. If something goes wrong, and then you can't shut it down. That's why most of the newer nuclear power plants, they will shut down. The newer designs that you would put on now, they'd shut down automatically because of the physics. They don't rely on humans to shut it down, because then you get human error. That's what happened at Chernobyl.
Yeah, but okay, I don't. Yeah, but again, what I'm seeing is that what I'm based on the reports I'm saying is that the experts at least are saying that a explosion or a bombing of the Bushehr nuclear facility, not Natanz, not Fordow, not Isfahan, but something like the Bushehr nuclear facility, is something to be very concerned about, and it could be devastating. So I don't know. These are the people who seem to know what they're talking about.
Yes, I understand. I'm actually a physicist. I know the stuff myself. There are risks, yes. But if you've got a nuclear meltdown, then that sprays radioactive material all over the place, and then that can cause some damage, radiation, poisoning, and that sort of thing. That's the main risk.
We're out of time. So how about this? Okay, just summarize it in one word: panic or don't panic. Just tell us that, and then we can move on.
I think until we know
just
now,
one word. No, just one word: panic or don't panic.
I think don't panic for now.
Okay, don't panic. Okay, guys, no, don't hold on. Wait, don't panic for now. That makes me panic.
We don't know yet if
don't panic for now. Wait, you know
meltdown.
what I hear when you say don't panic for now means that the time for panic is upon us. That's what it sounds to me.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. So don't ever panic. Okay, never mind. It's okay. We're back. It's okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna end the stream, but I have another stream coming up with Ali in about 30 minutes, and then in 4 hours, Ali will have his own stream and his own discussion group. Somebody's mic is open. Guys, close your microphone. Close your microphone. And by the way, don't worry. You guys could continue the conversation here without me. After I leave, the conversation continues here. So if you wanted to say something, say it here. And if you didn't get a chance to speak, Ali will have his segment in 4 hours, and it's much less busy over there. And that one is free as well, and it's much less busy over there, and you could speak there more. And that will also get streamed on both Liberty Politics, and it will also get streamed on Ali's channel. So Pedro, sorry that I have to go, but you could keep talking. If I go, it doesn't mean that this room is not closing, okay? The room is not closing. All right.
So thank you, Mr. Armin. I hope next time maybe when is the next session? Is it going to be on Thursday or Saturday? The free one that doesn't require VIP.
It's
Yeah.
it's once every 3 days. It's once every 3 days.
So it's going to
Ju-
be
Just
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
just check the calendar. It's all in the calendar. All right.
Thank you, Armin.
Yep.
So
And also, actually, the next one is in the next one is in the next 4 hours. The next free one is in the next 4 hours with Ali. So in 4 hours, there's
with
another
Ali,
free. Yeah, Ali.
perfect.
Okay.
I have no issue with that.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let me actually stop the recording. So, guys, the next free segment is with Ali in 4 hours. And just check the calendar. If you go to our community, there's a calendar section. It will show you everything, and it actually gives it to you in your time zone, which is very convenient.